you talk about not only just comic books, but just life in general, or other forms of entertainment, and I think that's really important as well for us to be stimulated by other forms of entertainment as content creators or whatever.
Because you never know what's going to spark that next idea. I was talking to my aunt about the gun laws in Chicago.
Yeah.
That gave me an idea for like a joke or like a story. It's like you never know where this little nugget of knowledge or conversation can take you in your mind.
Come on, Benny, man. The kid is a L7 Weenie.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, great, man. Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. This is not the most common background to be talking.
No,
but
I was just about to say, I'm like, man, you look like you just having the best day ever. You got this beautiful contrast.
Yeah.
Of, like green trees in the middle of January and a clear blue sky.
Oh no, here in Spain it's it's a bit chilly, but it's fine. Whatever.
What's winter like in Spain? I've never been.
People think that it's always sunny and sort of like hot, but in January is a bit chilly. It's definitely a bit chilly, but it's fine.
Yeah, I see you got the Letterman jacket. I'm like, it can't be too warm, or at least I was like, or he might just be trying to look cool. I don't know. It's like maybe it's like 80 degrees and he's just sweating in and out.
You kind of lose me with the Fahrenheit type of metric, because we don't use it in Spain. We use the Celsius metric.
Right.
So I don't know what 80 degrees in Fahrenheit is, but it's kind of like 20-ish degrees Celsius here. So yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you right now, I have no idea how that conversion works, so we're gonna stop talking about the weather.
Oh yeah. I have no idea whatsoever. So yeah. Cool. Is the sound all right, and the picture and everything? Is it?
Yeah, and this is my first time on StreamYard, so it's like I don't even know what it looks like.
Oh, right, okay.
So long as you can hear me and I can hear you.
Okay, cool. So yeah, first and foremost, thank you very much for inviting me to be your guest. Mm-hmm. It's an honor. I mean, I've never done this, so yeah.
Thank you for being on. It was honestly doing this next episode was a struggle because we had a guy lined up, and then he was like, this was back in December, so I had him lined up, but his job he accepted a managerial position. So as a supervisor, they were asking more of him with Christmas season and whatnot, and then his laptop broke, and then I was like, we was like, all right, we should just try another time. And then I tried talking to this other guy, and he was like, I was like, hey, I sent you the email. And he was like, oh, okay. And then I didn't hear anything from him. I'm like, hey, did you get the email? And I was like, let me try sending you another email. And he's like, yeah, I got it. I replied. And I didn't get a reply in my inbox. So I'm like, all right, well, let me just comment right here, like where I can talk to you. Like, hey, when do you want to come on the show? And then he didn't respond. So I'm like, all right, well, let me just go to Facebook. See who wants to be on a podcast. So
that's actually a very good idea to kind of just ask people like, hey, you want to hop onto the show and just talk and whatever. And how do you choose, like, how do you choose the artist or whatever? Or
well, I typically just get people, like I reach out to people that I want to talk to. Like I started this podcast as just a way of more so connecting with other artists and just other people in the comic industry. So it's more so just like trying to get outside of my bubble and connect with my peers more and just, make it as fun as possible being a cartoonist or an artist. Cause, being a creative can be kind of a lonely experience,
Oh yeah, so for sure.
It's fun feeling like you're a part of it's bigger than just you. So I just reach out to people who I think I want to talk to, and I've seen you post lately in the I Create Comic Books group. And your artwork's real nice, and more importantly, attached to your artwork is usually a description. So I was like, well, he's definitely got something to say. So I think he'll be good on the
Yeah, I mean, I like to think so. I mean, I have no real experience in the industry yet. I mean, I was kind of published in a online magazine called Saturday AM. I don't know if you're familiar with
with
the sort of like a Shonen Jump.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, that was like ages ago. I was like 15 or 16 or something like that.
How old are you now?
23. I'm 23.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, I have no real experience, but I'm very ambitious. I do take this very seriously. Like, I don't have any plan B or plan C. This is sort of like, my only goal per se, and I do take it very seriously. And I try to be as active as possible in the group, and sort of like make some moves here and there, because as you said, it's a very hard industry. It's a very lonely industry. So I mean, it's very nice to reach out to to your peers and to other creative people. It kind of feels like a community thing, and yeah. So I mean, I'm very appreciative of the fact that you do this. You kind of let artists have a voice, and it's really nice, and it's a very nice concept too.
Thanks. And yeah, I think there's other podcasts where but I feel like I don't want to say the problem with the with those, because there's nothing wrong with the shows, but it's more so just what I think makes the conversations I have different than those other shows. It's more so about highlighting a campaign, like a Kickstarter or some type of crowdfunding promotion. So it seems like it's very focused on that, and then sometimes like whatever people are upset about on Twitter, so it's like you kind of lose just building the camaraderie of getting to know other artists and seeing what their world is like.
Yeah, I mean, I have no sort of like crowdfunding to promote or any project now. I mean, I'm doing something now. I don't know if you've seen. I'm doing sort of like a short story on depression, sort of like a comic book, kind of like a 10, 11 page sort of project. And I've uploaded a couple things in the I Create Comic Books group, and it'll be finished in the next following weeks. But it's nothing like I want to promote this work, or I want to do it for the cloud or anything like that. It's just sort of like a like a personal project about, because I don't think it's really discussed mental health in the comic book industry or comic books in general. So I want to do something like that, something small like that, and see just how people respond to it, I guess. But yeah.
So over here in America, there's like a somewhat of a pretty big push for taking care of your mental health and all of that stuff, and making sure you got a good headspace when it comes to things. And what's it like over there? Where you're at in Spain?
In Spain, you mean like is it discussed or?
Yeah, just is it discussed? Is it taboo? Do people talk about it? Is it more encouraged?
Well, I don't really know about the comic book industry here in Spain, but like just mental health in general, kind of is a bit taboo. I mean, I think in Europe in general, it's not really. I mean, people are trying to be as open about it as possible, but it's not really. Yeah, it's not. It's just something you kind of put it aside, and you just do whatever, and
just power through.
Yeah, it's just power through it, and I think especially with artists here in Spain, or I'm going to talk about Europe in general, because it's kind of like the same thing. And whoops, sorry about that. It's kind of like the same in Europe, and with artists, and I think it's the same in America. It's kind of like you're seen as a entertainment machine, You're seen as a content creator, not seen as a person, And I think especially with comic books in Europe, with the French industry is very big here in France. I mean, they're huge. I think they're the second or the third biggest comic book industry in the world.
Yeah.
Artists are definitely treated like that. They're treated like, just do this and don't talk about your struggles or anything like that. And and I want to do something refreshing. I mean, I'm not reinventing the wheel here. I'm not talking about something a pioneer or anything like that, but it's just kind of like bringing the artist and the audience closer to each other in that way, kind of like showing your vulnerability and that you're a human being as well. And in this short story that I'm doing, I just kind of like talk about myself. The main character is myself, and everything is just about what I think. And and I don't want to get too deep into it. I don't want to be a bore or anything.
No,
but
it's cool. It's perfectly fine. If you want to go, like, because I'm curious to learn about your creative process in the way of so like you're saying the character is more so like sort of a self-insert, like this is representation of what you're going through. So
yeah.
Do you feel like there's some things that even you still at this point don't want to share even in this exercise, or are you really just going? Do you feel comfortable saying, what? Here's the reality of the situation, and I think and you're going to try and like sort of normalize that.
Well, I don't know if people care too much about me right now as an artist, because I have no clout whatsoever and have sort of like no audience whatsoever. But so there's no things that I don't want to share about because it's too private. Like I honestly don't care about. I just want to be open about it, And I mean, if I had a bigger audience, or maybe I wouldn't share some aspects about depression or mental health. I mean, who knows, but
that's interesting. So not to cut you off, but it's like when you feel like no one's paying attention, you feel comfortable saying whatever. But now that you have a platform of people who probably appreciate you and accept you for who you are, now you feel like you want to be more reserved.
Not necessarily. It's just I mean, I think it comes with success or fame. If you're a big artist, you're gonna be a bit more apprehensive about sharing things, but when you're smaller, you kind of have that. I saw that quote that you have, the Fight Club quote, that it's only when you lose everything you're free to do anything. Well, it's kind of like the same thing as an artist. It's kind of like, well, people don't really know me. Like, what do I have to lose? I'm just gonna do this, and yeah, and I like to think that being sort of that lonely headspace, even if you have a big audience or a small audience, can be very beneficial in a way. Because I mean, you said that it's a lonely industry, and for sure is, but I think it also, you find freedom in that kind of lonely space, and I mean, it's sort of like a double-edged sword, because kind of is like you're keeping to yourself, you're always in your head. It's sort of like a good and bad thing as a creative person. I mean, I'm sure you've experienced that, like being too much in your head. It's not a very good thing, but it just comes with the price of being a creative person.
Right.
That's what I wanted to explore for sure. And with my creative process, I mean, I wish I could tell you that I have a process. It's sort of like, whatever I have in my mind, or it's just, I don't know, it just appears, it just, it just create itself. I mean, I don't want to be too pretentious here.
That's honestly a great place to be, where more so it's effortless. You don't have to go out into your mind looking for it. It'll find you. And it's like, it finds me before I feel like I need to go find it. That's a good place to be.
How's your process? Like, do you have to find, or do you have to look into stuff before creating something, or do you have it in your mind and you just let it create itself in the paper? Or...
So, okay. So it's like, if I wanted to just, make what I think about, I could do that. you know. But the problem is, as being a artist and a writer, you know, I'll think up a new idea for a story or a joke or like a good little comedic situation. I'll think that up maybe once, twice a day. So my hand can't keep up with my mind. So my creative process, for the most part, is a lot of just saying no to myself. Like, no, we can't do that, or no, we can't do that, or write that down, we'll see. You know, so a lot of my process is a filtering. There's a lot of filtering in the beginning.
All right, okay.
Because what was a big, I guess you could say, milestone in my career as a cartoonist was when I decided, okay, it's not just about what I think is cool, what would be cool to do. It's about what's gonna be cool and what's actually gonna be able to produce an income. You know, what can I market this and you know, effectively market, not just say I have to try and sell it to people. You know, like how scale an actual, you know, income. So. My process is a lot of saying no to myself at first. Like, I'm just a kid in the toy store, like in my head, like, "Ooh, let's do this, let's do that, let's do this," and it's like, "Nah, we're not. That's not it yet." And then I wait till I see one that's like, okay, that's really good, and that can work with what we're already doing. Like, so it's more so about finding, like Tetris. You know, there's gonna be plenty of pieces coming along. I'm trying to do my hand movements in front of the camera. But there's gonna be pieces coming down. And they're all good pieces that can be used in a way. But sometimes it's just like, I don't need that piece to get to what I'm trying to accomplish. So okay, I had to let this one go and wait till that right Tetris piece falls down. So
it's more like a strategic way of like being creative, or
it's just about putting your energy in the right places. It's just like anything, like sports, you know, football or basketball. Like every time there's lots of moves, there's lots of good plays, there's lots of good shots you can take. It's just sometimes it's like, hey, we need a 3-pointer. We don't need to try and go down low and dunk on somebody. It looks cool. It's awesome. It's a highlight on ESPN.
That's wonderful.
Needed to win the game.
No, I mean, that's a really wonderful kind of way of thinking. I mean, it's really about like channeling your energy in the right places. And I think that's a very good attribute for an artist, because I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, we're artists, but we're also sort of like planners in a way, or businessmen, and sometimes you can't do everything, you know, and I think that's a daily struggle for artists, for sure. Like, you have so many projects in your mind. You want to do so much that you end up doing nothing, because you kind of like just overwhelm yourself with the many ideas that you have in your mind. And it's kind of like you make yourself go crazy if you don't, you know, choose the right things at the right time. And I mean, I wish I could be that, you know. I'm learning to be that, because with me it's sort of like you know, if I decide to do something, I'll do it, you know. And
and you said you're 23, right?
I'm 23.
I'm 32, so it took
me
a while. It took me a while to get to this mind state of,
dude, you don't look 32 at all. I thought you were my age. I'm not even kidding. I thought you were my age. I'm shocked. I really am. Like, dude, you don't look 32 at all. Like,
and the truth is, I don't even keep up with myself well. You can ask my girlfriend. I'd be like taking showers like maybe every other day, because I just be working so much. I don't do the face stuff, you know. It's just
life of an artist.
Yeah.
Like that. You don't groom yourself. You don't really care about the way you look. You just want to, you know. For sure.
Like, hey, is that gonna help us get done what we need to get done?
And what's your experience? Because I really want to know, like, what's your experience in the comic book industry?
So like I said, a big point in my life was when I realized, okay, this can't just be cool. It has to make money, right? So I think that's when I really stepped into like, you okay?
I think can you see me?
I don't see you, but you're still in the, in the.
Oh, hold on. I think I did something here I shouldn't have. So just wait 30 seconds, please.
Okay.
I mean, you can keep. I mean, I can hear you, so you can keep talking if you want.
Okay. So yeah, as I said, there's a big moment was I realized that it can't just be cool, it has to make money. So I'll say at that point is when I really went into the comic industry.
Yeah.
And my experience, like okay, so it was more so, hey, it was more so a big oh, now y'all pixelated. Can you see?
Can you see me well, or
now we're
is
good.
it fine?
Yeah, now we're
okay.
Back to normal. Okay, so when I got into the industry, it's kind of like, okay, I'm just trying to fit in. Like, here's what you do to sell a book in a comic book store. That's the idea. The goal is to get your book in the comic book store and get it sold. So it's like, okay. So I was like, all right, I'll just make this. I was like, I'm gonna make my version of Shonen Jump, right? Do you know what Shonen Jump is?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I'm an artist. I'm a visual person, so I feel like I kind of assume everyone else is. So, anyways, I was making my own version of Shonen Jump. It's like a pretty.
Oh shit!
It's pretty cool. It's got like this camera is so.
Hold on, but it's like a whole ass issue.
Yeah. So, like I will put what I was doing is I will put this at comic book stores, and I would just grab a bunch of free web comics off of the internet, since they were up for free anyways. So what I would do is put my comic in there along with them, and I would do this I did this for 2 Decembers in a row, where I would release this book and put it in the shop and give it away for free and just see how people respond to it. And a lot of people will really like it. All of the books would sell out. It's like it's a legit book. So.
And it's high quality as well. Is it just you?
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Is it just like a one-man operation? Like you do everything, I didn't assemble everything?
That was but I mean, more or less one-man operation. I had Kablam. I outsourced that to Kablam.
Mm-hmm.
So they
Dude, but that's awesome.
Yeah, they were doing that, and I was like, okay, because I feel like what's missing over here, because in business it's always about trying to be different, not trying to be better. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, what's missing over here? What's missing over here is that same kind of Shonen Jump energy, like a weekly book where, it's new stories and stuff. And so I was like, all right, yeah, I'm going to try and do that over here. And then, but, making this book is expensive. So I was like, all right, well, there has to be a more sustainable way. And let me do it in a way that I don't have to use other people's stories too much, because they might feel weird about it if I start selling it. Like, even though it's out there for free, they still might feel some way about me, profiting off it. So I was like, okay. So eventually I got down to this version, which is like...
Dude, it looks awesome. It really does.
Yeah.
Like, it looks professional and everything.
This is more... I'm gonna figure this out. It's like trying to move backwards. Here, this is shit. Okay. So it's like a bunch of stories.
Oh, and it has the sort of like the same kind of paper quality as Shonen Jump.
Yeah, but it's like all these stories are by me. So it was just a bunch of different comics, and it's like a DIY home print. And I was like, okay, well, if I print it at my house, I can increase my profit, and I don't have to worry about sharing this stuff, because I'll just do a bunch of short stories each week, So so I did that. It was selling. It was reaching an audience. But the thing is like, okay, when I tried to scale that, it's like, okay, well, wow, it was great. We made like, $15. But it's like, we can't just live off of $15 a week or a month.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, the goal would be to get it in more comic book stores, not just one. So it's like, all right, well, where are all the comic book stores in the world? And the more you start trying to grow it, the more it seems like, okay, I don't think this is gonna work. Because it's like, even if I got a book, what I think it was like, I'd have to get like 20 books, and every single store I could find in the nation.
God, that's a lot.
I'd have to sell every book and then some to be able to have, you know, money to where I could be comfortable. Not rich, just comfortable, you know?
Yeah, profitable.
And so it was like, okay, that's not gonna work. So my early experience in the industry was I learned from trial and error of just trying it out that it's flawed and it's not set up to really a person can be financially successful as, say, the industry is set up for a musician or an athlete. So that was more so my experience. And then what I realized I had to do was like, okay, I had to pivot from trying to be a comic book professional into just trying to be a professional, like an entrepreneur.
Right. Yeah.
And I started consuming a lot of content on YouTube that's just aimed at people, just aimed at content creators in general. Mm-hmm. And when I started adopting more of those practices, I started finding more success.
That's very interesting, because I always thought in the comic book industry, a lot of people consider themselves to be comic book creators or comic book entrepreneurs, but I think it's more about just being an entrepreneur or just being a creator in general, or being in the entertainment business in general. Like, a lot of people kind of like limit themselves to that field that they want to work in. Whoops, it's a bit windy. Is it noisy?
I mean, I can still hear you. You good. You good.
But is it very noisy?
Nah, it's a beautiful day in Spain.
Okay.
Go ahead. You good.
Okay. Yeah, no, but like, I like to think that we are in the entertainment business, you know, and I think that kind of like philosophy is very good for an artist, because you're not, because I think you take it more seriously if you think this is just a business and you have to be a businessman as well, you know, because being an artist and, you know, being in your room and creating, it's very cool and all that, but yeah, you have to have that side of sort of numbers, you know, you have to think in numbers as well, and you have to think in a very analytical way, because I mean, it's very cool to draw, but you know, we all want to make a living as an artist or as whatever, you know, and I have to yet learn that kind of aspect of the industry, because I'm very much in the no, I'm just, you know, I'm cool. I just, you know, I'm an outsider. I don't want to be part of the money people now. But
you're
you know,
23. That's the time to do that. Honestly, like when you're younger, that's when you got more so house money to play with, and you can make more mistakes. You know, the younger you are, the more mistakes you can make. So you're at the perfect time to really just be exploring yourself creatively, figuring out what you really are, what gets you excited artistically.
Yeah.
And as you get older and start approaching my, you know, decrepit age.
Yeah, it's sort of like you're talking as if you were like a grandpa or something. You're still young yourself.
You can start focusing that energy now on something that you know can make you money, and you know is going to satisfy you artistically, so you don't have to, you know, sell out. It's like, no, I'm doing what I want to do, and it's also going to benefit me financially.
Yeah, I think that's very true as well. I think it sort of like comes with the times. Like, first, you have to be immersed in your creativity and whatever you want to do. Because if you're always thinking about numbers and is this marketable, is this going to sell, you're never going to have artistic integrity. You're never going to be your own artist.
Yeah.
And you know, I think there are a lot of like businessmen or editors that don't like artists when they think in that way, because you're kind of like taking their jobs. It's like, no, you just focus on yourself, just be creative, and if you do it with a passion, you're gonna go far. I mean, and people like that. You know, people can feel, the audience or whatever, the readership can feel when you're being true to yourself and you're not trying to sell out. I mean, I don't like the word sell out because we all want to be successful. We all want to make money here, but yeah, it's very noticeable, especially with the comic book group, that a lot of people want to chase a formula. They want to chase a formula. They want to do superhero stuff all the time. They're just not. There's just not a lot of originality. Is that a word?
Yeah, yeah.
There's not a lot of originality when it comes to the comic book business in general, and I think an artist shines when you kind of put yourself away from those formulas and numbers and just do your own thing. Like all these successful artists were original. I mean, you know, let's talk about like Jim Lee or Todd McFarlane or, you know, these very big artists. They were successful because they brought something new to the table. Right. And I actually posted something about that in the group. Like, you know, people don't want to see the next Jim Lee. People don't want to see the next, I don't know, Michael Jordan or Michael Jackson. They want to see the next you. You know, they want to see that you have to have your own voice because that's what people are attracted to.
Right.
You know, and I think that's really important. And but I also don't believe in the concept of selling out, because if you're successful with your own artistic perspective and you're getting a lot of offers, then, you know, go for it. You know? Like, you know, who cares? Like, you know, you're making money and, you know, you're being true to yourself. I think the problem lies when, you know, editors or I'm really beating down on editors. I don't know why, but yeah, I mean, because I have some experience with that. Like,
yeah, I'm about
editors
to say,
kind of like,
who hurt you, Alvaro? Who hurt you, Alvaro? Tell us about the editor you're talking about. Go ahead.
Oh well, I had an experience with an editor that it was sort of like, well, we can't really put this in the story because this might be a bit controversial, or this might be a bit problematic, and you know, I really don't, especially here in Europe, people don't believe in that. Like, if you have a story, as much as problematic as it is, or controversial, or not non-controversial, just you have your own story, then, you know, go ahead and do it. And don't be afraid of your own creativity. Don't be afraid of self-expression, because at the end of the day, this art form, comic books, they're about expression too. Like, we're still artists. We're still writers, you know, we're still creative.
Oh, got knocked out. He was going in too. He's like, it's not about that. You're an artist. We're writers, you know. Here it comes. Yeah, I was just like, oh, man, he was in the middle of it too. He was going.
No, but like, yeah, it's not about being afraid of just telling your own story and not being too caught up on the numbers and how marketable is something. But I did have this problem with an American editor, because I did the rounds like a couple years ago here in Europe, in France and whatever. But with an American editor, it was kind of like, well, we would like to sell merchandise and we would like to do this, and, you know, so the story has to be trimmed down, and, you know, because I'm doing a story called Sin Dog. I mean, I'm not going to get into it now, but because it's a very long story. But
you can tell me a brief tagline, little brief synopsis or whatever.
Well, it's sort of like a black novel. Is that a black genre in the US?
You mean like noir? Noir?
Like noir, yeah, for sure. Noir. Yeah, it's sort of like steampunk, cyberpunk, noir story about this robot, which is a Sin Dog, which is a kind of hybrid robot, and he lives in the underworld of criminals. As a hunter, he hunts down criminals in the city of Asanko, and he's the father figure of a boy called Sampa. And so throughout this story, he has a moral dilemma of, he wants to take care of this boy called Sampa, which was a homeless boy he took under his wing. He wants to provide Sampa, this boy, a normal childhood, an innocent childhood. but the only way he can provide for that boy is to engage in that violent, dark world full of deceit, corruption, lust. Because as a sin dog, he's an outcast of society, and he can't have another way of life. He has to be commissioned by different groups in this underworld, hunting down criminals. He can't have a normal job. He can't be part of the normal society. So his moral dilemma is, well, how can I'm protecting this boy, or I'm trying to protect this boy from these things in this city, but the only way that I can do that is by being part of it. So it's sort of like throughout the story, it's a very adult, very kind of dark story.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, it's kind of like sort of like Blade Runner meets this. I forget the name of it. It was like an old TV show about a samurai, and he used to go around with his daughter or his son. I don't know.
Well, it's kind of like the vibe, sort of like The Last of Us, God of War kind of vibe. Yeah. Like with the parental figure, the father figure kind of thing.
And those stories they really hit, I think, because a lot of people relate to it. It's
for sure.
It's very easy to relate to seeing yourself having to be this kind of person in order to make it from your day to day, but you also want to be a different kind of person with the people who are actually in your life,
Yeah, I think that's an essential part of creating a good story is how relatable can it be to the human condition? Because at the end of the day, we see ourselves through characters that we admire. We don't. It's not really. I mean, it's important, but it's not essential for your character to be cool and the action scenes to be cool. At the end of the day, what we care about is how human the characters are, how human the story is, and a lot of it is dark. A lot of it has some darkness and some violence to it that not a lot of people are comfortable exploring it. And I think that's what happened here in this story when I was making the rounds, kind of like pitching it with this, with this American editor or whatever. Like, oh, well, we're trying to make something more marketable, something less serious. And it's sort of like, I mean, if you agree with that and you go ahead and you trim down your story, then it's perfectly legit. Like if you want to, it's perfectly legit. But I think if you really are not that type of person, if you think you're sacrificing part of your integrity, just don't do it, because you're not gonna go very far. You're gonna end up being fed up or depressed because you're not telling the story that you want to tell. And I think that's really essential for an artist or a writer or whatever, is just tell the story that you have. And sure, I mean, there are going to be people. I mean, I'm very much of a Byrne when it comes to like trimming down things in my story. But yeah, so it just depends. I don't want to be like, oh well, you're trimming down your story. You're how do you say? You're deleting these parts of the story, so you're not a true artist. You're not a true person. You're not a true creative. No, I mean, just go ahead and do whatever you want to do, but just be true to yourself and true to your own voice. That's what's important. And I think that also goes with being original, telling your story. It's not about reinventing the wheel. It's just about refining things and being whatever you have in your soul, not in your mind, in your soul, reaching down to in your soul and just expressing yourself, and yeah, and I don't really like when people are trying to chase a formula. They're trying to chase what makes a story successful. I mean, sure, there's certain parameters of, you need to have a strong character, you need to have a strong villain, you need to have a good plot, but there's really no formula whatsoever. It's just, like, just do what I mean, at the end of the day, because artists seem like they're geniuses and they're masterminds, but a lot of the time we don't really know what we're doing. We're just doing it.
It's not having fun. It's like if you're having fun, other people are gonna have fun reading your story, you know?
For sure. Yeah. I think and I want to be that kind of artist in the future of, like, oh, this artist, this writer, whatever, this author is being true to himself. And by extension, he's being true to the readers as well. And yeah.
And like I was just thinking too, when you were talking about how you don't like the term sell out, and I always thought of, that's why I put quotation marks around it, because it's like it's selling out. And the more we talked about it, I think there's a lot that could be said how selling out is more so substitution for happiness. And it's like it's
selling
out if you're still happy. Because what if you're not happy with it? Now you could say, okay, you sacrificed something, you sold out, like you sold a part of you.
Yeah.
I
agree.
A monetary gain, because you're not happy. You sacrifice your happiness. So, and I think that's something that you could, put on any industry, any kind of career. If you're, because I've heard lots of stories about there'll be some guy or woman, whoever, who gets a promotion to a job that they're making, $250K a year, but now they're not happy. They were a lot happier making $100K a year, you know? And sometimes it's gotta not be about the money. If you're making 6 figures, clearly it's like, okay, you're gonna be good.
Yeah.
Like, you do. But a lot of society will put on you, well, you got to be making more money, more success. It's like more money doesn't always equate to success. And
for sure,
sacrificing your story to get it to print doesn't always equate to success. I think that's the conversation that should be expanded upon more in our industry, to where so it's not about selling out. It's about, are you happy? Are you genuinely happy?
Yeah, it reminds me of Mike Tyson, because in an interview he said that he was the happiest when he was in prison, because he didn't have all those material things. He didn't have that fast life. He didn't have those toxic friends around. And when he was the most miserable is when he was, this titan, this big, Mike Tyson in the 80s and 90s. He was the most depressed. And I think the terminology would be like selling your soul, I think. When it comes down to creativity. Yeah, if you're selling your soul, then for sure, you're never going to be happy. It doesn't matter if you're making 6 figures, if you're making 7 figures, because, at the end of the day, I think a lot of people get lost in that. Like, this is a business. We got to make money. We got to do this. We got to publish. We got to make this story as popular as, but a lot of people in the process lose that kind of what made them great in the first place, and people want to see you great because you were great in the first place. They don't want to see you, I think it's this, like the philosophy with or the case would be with Eminem. I think Eminem, he was very successful because people liked his honesty, his vulnerability, the way he showed his past and whatever, and people want to consume that. They don't want to hear a 50-year-old man who's a millionaire talking about cars and hoes and whatever. They want to talk about, they want to keep consuming whatever made the artist great, and I think it's very true what you said, the selling out. Yeah, for sure, it's when you're selling your soul. It's not when you're being successful monetarily speaking. It's when you're selling your soul for sure. Yeah. I hope I hope I have the luxury to say someday, yeah, I was about to sell my soul, but
Hey, I think everybody will reach that point in some kind of way. With it might not always be money. Like how you said, Mike Tyson was talking about all the different kind of temptations he had out there. Where
for sure, yeah.
It's like, that wasn't me. Why did I do that? That wasn't me. There's gonna be a bunch of moments in your life where I don't know how religious you are, but where the devil was tempting you. So it's like, hey, there's choices, and You know, it's like, hey, sometimes you make the right ones, sometimes you make the wrong ones. You know, it's just. But yeah. So how would you say now, after having that experience with that editor, how are you moving forward? You know, I see you're about to release you're talking about releasing this, you know, short story on your own. Are you looking to do more of an independent route, or are you still looking to maybe submit to a publisher one day?
To be completely honest with you, I have no idea. Yeah. Like, I'm just going to do this and just let's see what happens. I mean, I'm going to, you know, make the rounds, kind of like share with people, but it's not like I'm a mastermind saying, oh yeah, I have a couple editors in the back burner, kind of like want to talk to them. I have no idea. Like, I might go to expos. Well, as a matter of fact, I'm going to expos and all that, but yeah, I don't like to think in those terms of like what I'm going to do next. It's just, I like to focus on just finishing it. And then, because if I do that, I'm going to overwhelm myself. I'm just going to get tunnel vision, and I'm going to like, oh, you know, that there's so many things to do yet. And I'm not doing those things. And so I'm just going to stop. And so I like to think in like very much as a video game, like in different levels.
And that's a good way, like, especially, you know, it's important to finish things. A lot of people start things and they don't finish them. So
yeah, can relate to that.
Right now is just, let me just finish something, and then we can start something else, and then finish that. You know, once you get that muscle, you know, the muscle memory of like, okay, I can start something from conception and then complete it. Now it's like, okay, yeah, how do I focus that energy to take me where I want to go? So yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good mindset to have.
And I think that comes with age as well, because I think very young artists are too ambitious. They're like, I want to do like 100 different million projects, and you know, no one's gonna stop me. And you know, and it's like you end up doing nothing because you're a hothead. You're 18, you're 19, you're 17, and just to finish off with this sort of like editor thing that I had. To be honest, I mean, to be fair, I was very young, and so I think this is a very important point to be discussed. That you grow as an artist, but you also have to grow as a person. And you know, no 18-year-old, no 19-year-old is going to be a fully fledged artist. And that just comes with age, you know, being mature, being mentally mature, and just kind of getting to know yourself in that way, you know. And yeah, that was a lot of a trial and error, like being, you know, taking things as they come, you know, like one day at a time. And yeah, but thank you.
So here's a quick question, because I'm actually, you know, getting ready for my whole conventions this year. I've got like, I haven't been doing conventions like until last year. I hadn't done a convention in like over maybe 7 years.
Oh wow!
I've just been so much in this. I've been so much in this phase of how can we get the money flowing. Like, before I just go to a convention, what's the best way to go to a convention? Like, because I went to conventions, and it's like, okay, well, it's not really taking me up. It's just kind of, you know, like, hey, I went to a convention. That was fun. You know, so like, you know, it's like, okay, how do I get the most out of this experience? And I think I'm finally there. And here, I'll tell you.
How come? What's the difference now? Like,
so now, I have okay, what's different now is that I have a platform on Facebook where I'm able to create income through engagement. It's what's called like this thing they have called the Facebook performance bonus. I don't know if it's available to people in Spain right now. It's still
sure, yeah. It's sort of like they show you statistics of the group activity. You mean, or
it's like basically if I post something on my Facebook page, if someone likes it, comments on it, shares it, or click it, I get paid off of that.
So, right, yeah.
So yeah, because I walked ass backwards into that opportunity, I've been able to create like, okay, I can create some money now, you know, that doesn't take all my time, and now I can help pay for these conventions, because that was the real hurdle. when it comes to wanting to do conventions, these tables cost $300 a pop. And it's
Fucking
like,
hell.
yeah. How much did it cost over on your side?
It's sort of like 80.
Oh,
80.
wow.
Yeah, like the equivalent. Yeah, it's sort of like equals to $80 here in Spain.
I mean,
so it's sort of like 70 euro.
Yeah,
what?
We got some conventions that cost $75, but a lot of them hang around 150, 200, and the big conventions, $300, $400.
So would that be like New York Expo or LA or
yeah, like Comic-Con and this C2E2 convention in Chicago. The big ones, you're gonna spend 3 figures to get in there. Like,
damn,
it's a lot. So yeah, now that I have money to pay for the tables, it's like, oh, okay, and now I have money to pay for, getting my books printed and all this stuff. And most importantly, the strategy that I was looking to put in place before I even had the Facebook opportunity was, I'm sure you've heard and, people tell you to grow a business to start building an email list, right?
Yeah.
So what I was like, okay, well, email, what can I do with that? And is that really effective? How much would I need of that to really, start making money? And then I realized something. You already have an email list. It's called your YouTube page. And when you make a video, it goes out to all of the people on your email list, all of the subscribers. Now, YouTube subscriptions and algorithm isn't necessarily like that. But the concept was, though, if I can just get people to subscribe to my YouTube channel, that's essentially like getting an email list. And I can use these metrics, even if they're more so vanity metrics, to help people get interested in my work. So, and then it's like, okay, well, all right, well, how do I make that work for my comics? And what I found out is that, are you familiar with Webtoon?
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
So what I was, because there was a phase where I skipped over that in my journey of the comic industry, but there was a phase where I was putting my comics on Webtoon because it's like, that's where you supposed to put the comics. But then I realized that there's people posting on there and they ain't making no money. Like, they're not living comfortably. They're living on the edge, And I love creating, but I don't want to feel like I have to do it every minute of every day. There's no time to live. So what I realized, though, was that there were people putting comics like manhwa comics, scroll comics. They were putting those in the form of YouTube videos on YouTube, and they're getting views. There's an audience there for that, and it's like, so I was like, and you can get paid more off of the ad revenue on YouTube versus Webtoon. YouTube has an algorithm in place to where your content is searchable, so it will find its audience so long as you do your SEO correctly.
Yeah, it's much more accessible.
Yeah,
the platform.
Yeah, that too. You don't even really need a YouTube account to be on YouTube.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, yeah, I'm gonna just start posting my comics on YouTube. And then when I go to these conventions now, I'm not gonna do this one-time transaction. I'm gonna start an actual relationship with these customers by getting them to subscribe to my YouTube page. They subscribe to my YouTube page, I give them a free comic. It's not necessarily free because the value is the YouTube subscription.
Yeah.
But still,
really good.
It's like, hey, subscribe to my YouTube channel, you get a comic. Now, they might not always watch the videos when I upload because, it's not about the subscribers, it's about watch time and all that stuff. But the idea that they're interested in comics and I'm uploading comics, there's like a good 50-30% chance, or whatever the math is that, yeah, they'll be interested in the video. If they like the comics, if they actually like the comics, yeah, they're going to actually become viewers. So this is creating, it's creating relationships instead of like this one-time transaction at a convention, which in the past have shown me that doesn't get legs. It's not like I saw all these books at the convention. Now I got all these fans and they want to know what's coming next. It's like, no, that didn't happen. It rarely did it. It never happened. Let me just say straight, it never happened. So now, instead of having to sell 1,000 comic books 1,000 times, I just need to sell 1,000 comic books one time.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's a really good. I mean, so what you're saying. It's more about the long-lasting impression with your fans.
Yeah,
Building a community rather than the one-time transaction, which is, yeah, I'm going to buy your comic book.
Right.
And that's it. And I'm never going to see you again. Or sort
and
of
even
like,
if you are going to see them again, you would still have to sell them another comic book to make that relationship matter.
Yeah.
Versus you getting them on a subscription. That was another thing. I realized a real big way that people were making money is subscription models.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what Netflix is doing and everybody else. They're subscription models. These transactions you don't have to think about because it's just automatically happening every month.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, how can I synthesize that? And this was another way of doing that, where it's like you're in my zone, whether or not you're actually actively watching me or not. You know?
Yeah.
So it's like, that I had to figure all of that out before I went to a convention again, before it made sense to spend all that money and resources and time. And so now I'm like, oh yeah, let's go to a convention, you know? So yeah.
Oh wow.
It took
I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a lot because I never saw it that way. It's like, building a relationship with future fans or customers or whatever. Yeah, that's a really good idea.
There's a dude on YouTube who I picked this idea up from. Well, I didn't pick it up from him. I came up with this revelation on my own, but I had it reinforced by him, and he's very well established. He's his platform is being like in sales. His name is Alex Hormozi. I think he's like
Alex Hormozi.
Yeah, Alex Hormozi. Have you heard of him?
No, never.
Okay. So yeah, him and his wife do a lot of content on YouTube about marketing and sales and creating content. And he basically laid out, when I heard him basically say what I was talking about doing, I was like, oh yeah, I know this is a good idea now. No one else is doing it. Everyone, when they go to a convention, is so concerned about making money. And it's like, it's not about making money today. It's about making money 5 years from now. So I will look up Alex Hormozi if you want to like find more just marketing.
Yeah, for sure. I'll check it out. Yeah, it sounds really, I never saw it like that. Wow. Thank you.
Hey, no problem, man. Hey, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I do videos like this all the time, okay? So like.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm already subscribed. It's not even Cab. Like, I'm already subscribed to your YouTube channel.
Okay, great.
Marcel, the loser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And you did an interview with your auntie and yeah. I mean, I've seen some of her videos.
Oh, thanks, man. I'm glad. I appreciate you, taking an interest. I don't ever expect people to, go through the whole catalog. It's just like, hey, I just want to talk to you. You don't have to watch it or subscribe. But I appreciate your interest, man. Thank you.
No. I mean, it's no problem. I mean, I was like very interested in it because I just, saw your post and I was like, wow, he's looking for people to be on their podcast. And I don't know, it's something original about it. And you kind of like, I was interested from the get-go, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna look into, his stuff and what he talks about. And yeah, it's really nice because you talk about not only just comic books, but just, life in general or other forms of entertainment. And I think that's really important as well for us to be stimulated by other, forms of entertainment as content creators or whatever.
Because you never know what's going to spark that next idea. I was talking to my aunt about the gun laws. And
yeah.
That gave me an idea for like a joke or, like a story. It's like you never know where this little nugget of knowledge or conversation can take you in your mind. So that's why I always like to encourage conversations about other things. And I want to talk to you more, but I'm trying to like if I keep talking to him, I'm gonna keep telling myself it's okay. We could talk a little longer.
I mean, I don't have any problem. I mean, I can be talking here for the next 3 hours or whatever. Like, I don't have any
because I promised, I was telling myself, well, we'll say like an hour, and I try to keep them at an hour just to, but here, we're going to go through, in case the conversation went dry, which it super didn't. This has been a great conversation so far, man. Again, thanks for being here and talking with energetic enthusiasm and passion about, you know, about who you are and all that great stuff.
Thanks.
I did have like some hot topics. Like, okay, I was like, all right, if we get to a still place, I'll ask them one of these questions, and we'll see. That'll be clippable content. But
sure, go ahead if you want to. Go ahead.
Yeah, since we're gonna go into a little bit of overtime here, I'm like, might as well ask one of these. Like, all right, I basically asked you what your goals are. Here's one. Where did you learn? How did you learn how to draw?
I'm really self-taught. I have no official education or whatever. I just, I mean, I'm constantly learning about or exploring or, you know, studying artists, you know, what people are doing. And like every day, it's an everyday process for me to learn, for me to keep up with the level. So I think a lot of people want to, they think, oh, I'm at this level right now, so I can't get any worse. So I'm not going to draw as often. But drawing is very much like a sport, like an exercise. You have to keep up with it. You know, you can't get rusty with it. And so, yeah, I mean, I learned just by reading comic books, not reading them, but like really observing every panel, the composition. Yeah, and that's the best way to learn is to, you know, this is a Michael Jackson quote because I really admire him. Study the greats and become greater. I'm not saying I'm any greater than any artist, but
no, I'm pretty sure. Well, just the Michael Jackson of comics. I'm pretty sure that's what we all just took away from that, right? You're the Michael Jackson of comics. Is that what you're saying?
No. I hope so, but I'm nowhere near. I mean, I'm a nobody right now, but the best way to learn.
Phase. Okay, you're in the Jackson 5 phase.
Oh yeah. I'm in Gary, Indiana right now. Yeah. I'm 5 years old. Yeah. No, but the best way to learn, it's, you know, don't get too carried away with, oh, what should I do? Should I go to this academy? Should I get an art degree or whatever? Because a lot of people lean on other people teaching them stuff, teaching them knowledge. But the most important trait for an artist to have is to have the ability to teach yourself. Because you know, you can go to an academy, you can go to college or whatever, but you know, once you're done with it, you're never going to have a teacher over your shoulder telling you what to do, or this is wrong, this is right. So I think the most important trait for an artist, I think I kind of went sideways here, but I'm gonna go full circle now.
No, you're good.
Is to just study the people that you admire. And also study real life things. You know, if you're walking down the street, kind of like thinking perspective lines. So I like this, you know, perspective shot, or I like the way this lady is sitting on a bench. You know, always have that kind of artist in mind. You know, do like a mental sketch over the things that you see. And I promise that's the best way. Even if you're not physically drawing at that moment, you're kind of improving. You're improving your sight, your eye for artistic proportions and composition and all that. And another thing is just, you know, I watched the masters draw on the internet. I mean, now with the internet, it's just, you know, you have unlimited knowledge for you to learn. And, you know, and I don't like to, you know, I don't like the pretentiousness that many artists have, that, no, you have to be an academic for you to be a good artist. No, I mean, ignore all that. You know, just do your thing, draw every day, have that kind of artist in mind. And I promise that's the way that I learned. I never went to any academies or any classes or anything like that, you know.
So who would you consider like your masters? People like give me 3 people that you look up to artistically.
Just drawing, or you mean creatively, or just drawing?
Mix it in, drawing and.
Oh, right. I mean, there's so many, but I think the one that really sparkled, the the necessity for me to become an artist was Masashi Kishimoto, you know, the creator of Naruto.
Yeah.
I mean, I was obsessed. I mean, dude, I was obsessed with him. I mean, I would go every day to school on the train ride, just, you know, observing every single panel, observing every single shot, and I was just locked in. I was just locked in from the get-go, and that he was the one that sparkled that kind of thing in me. But then it kind of transitioned more into American comic books, you know, kind of like with a European influence. And I'd say Jim Lee. I mean, it's very stereotypical, but you know, Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane, you know, the greats. But I think my biggest source of inspiration and for learning is just real life things. You know, just try to observe as much as possible. And I'm gonna throw another person, Michael Jackson. Yeah, he was the one that taught me about discipline, about being disciplined as an artist, because you have to be disciplined. I mean, I don't think it's very much discussed, this thing about, like, it's a sport. You're an athlete, and you have to go every day to the gym or to practice, and that's drawing. You know, that's drawing in a nutshell. You know, and it's very, you know, it's very cool that, you know, you're a good artist and that you draw very well, but can you sustain this? You know, can you keep up with it? That's what's most important. So
I say to myself all the time, dude, it's a marathon, not a sprint. It's a marathon.
For sure. Yeah. And this is what I mean, when I was younger, I used to like look up videos about how to improve in overnight, how to become better, faster, and it's really not about that. You know, we're not in a run. You know, we're not in a, you know, this is not a sprint. It's what you said. It's a marathon. It's a marathon. You have to be very patient. I think patience is a key as an artist. You have to trust in the process, if you will, and give yourself the benefit of the doubt a bit, you know, for sure. Yeah.
So I was gonna say, so did you go to art school? You didn't go to art college?
No, I never got an official education for it. Oh, so okay. I'm sort of like a weirdo outcast from society. I never went to college.
Go to college?
No, I never went to college. Right?
Okay.
I just spent all my living days drawing. That's it. Drawing in my room. I mean, you know, I mean, I lived with my grandmother, and she was not very happy about it, because it's like, oh no, I want my grandson to be in college, but it's sort of like, you'll understand one day, Grandma. You'll understand one day.
I mean, it shows you have a very, very refined style. Like,
thanks.
Yeah, it's not just like, oh, you just drawing detailed. And I saw you like say this in one of your posts. It's not just about the detail. It's just really your style, and you can see.
Oh yeah. What I said was, there's a lot of technically good artists. They have a lot of technical ability, and you know, academically they're very good. But I think what's important is to give it your own flavor, your own flair to it. And this happens because, you know, a lot of people just study their idols, and a lot of the times the idols happen to be the same people, the same group of people, you know, Jim Lee or whatever, or the hottest new artist in the comic book industry. And so what ends up happening is you regurgitate that style, but in a cheaper way, you know. And it's, you know, get outside of that and just try to find inspiration in other art forms, in other forms of media, music, film, real life. Because once you put your ideas onto the paper, it's going to be original. There's going to be something, even if it's very subtle, it's going to be something about you that stands out from other artists that are just reading American comic books or European comic books or manga or whatever, you know. And that's really important, you know.
So with your appreciation for art that you have, would you say when making a comic, what's more important, the art? Like, do you need to have good art to make a good comic, or can
the question of the century?
Yeah, like because you have a very, what I would call, refined style, and it's not like just super hyper realism or anything, but it's definitely it's a respectable, and I would say it's really good. So I was like, do you think someone has to have really good art, that level of art, or do you think it's like it's just about the storytelling?
I mean, at the end of the day, you know, comic books are about the story. I mean, you're essentially reading the comic book because you're enjoying the story. I mean, there's a lot of very well drawn comic books that are utter shit story wise, you know, and you're not going to keep reading it just because they're pretty pictures on the page. But I think, you know, it's sort of like finding a balance. I mean, it just depends of whether you're more of a writer person or an artist person. It just depends, really. But
yeah,
I think, you know, in my case, you know, I take drawing and I take art very seriously, but I want to incorporate that into my writing as well. You know, and even if I don't like writing as much as drawing, I have to be that. I have to be that disciplined in order to make a good product. And I think it's the same the other way around. If you like to be a writer and you're very diligent about your craft, well, if you like to draw, I mean, because, you know, there are only writers and only artists sometimes, but if you want to draw as well, why don't incorporate that discipline that you have for writing into your art? You know, and I never really understood this kind of like dilemma of, you know, what's more important. It's why not be the best version that you can be in both aspects, you know? Because I think a lot of people use that to just self-justify. They're not as good as artist as he or she can be. I think it's you know, just to make it simple is just, if you're serious about the craft that you want to engage in, you know, be serious about the other aspect of it as well. You know, unless you can pay an artist or you can pay a writer, but yeah, it's just, you know, try to be the best version in both aspects. That's it. You know.
Okay, so you agree with just always put your best foot forward. Always put your best.
Yeah, and of course, you know, do your own research and you know, try to have that kind of student mindset of, I'm always learning. You know, I'm not, you know, I'm not the master at anything. I'm always learning, and that's the very best way to, you know, be a well-rounded artist. I think, you know, not get your ego to get the best of you, not let it get the best of you. You know. So a lot of that in that question, I mean, I'm not talking about you personally, but when people ask that question, a lot of it, I think it's ego. Like, oh, well, you know, writing is more important because I'm a better writer, or, you know, drawing is more important because I'm a better artist. No, I mean, you know, just have that mindset of a student. You know, you don't know anything. You're always learning. That's it.
My whole thing with the artwork is, because I tend to lean more so like, oh, the story, your storytelling is, you know, what's going to matter. I tend to lean more that way, just because there's been cartoons and comics where the art wasn't, you know, like the one behind. My directions are so messed up.
Poster, you mean? Oh yeah.
It's a poster from Infinite Crisis for DC.
Yeah.
Real nice picture. I have it on a T-shirt as well. People always compliment it. It's a real
Is that
nice
yours?
picture.
You did that illustration?
No.
Ah.
I don't know who drew that actually, or I don't know who did the pencils and the inks and the colors. And there's 5 people touched that shit. I don't know. But I've always leaned more so just like, hey, so long as I can understand what's happening, and I understand what's happening, like, and then some people will take it still. It's like, even though it looks like this and you can understand what's happening, I'm doing subtle things to tell another story in the art and not just with bubbles. So like I tend to lean more so on storytelling, and what really helped me get to that point is, like you said, researching, exploring the wide array of art styles there are in the world, especially when it comes to comics or animation. There's so many different ways to tell, to show something. And so it's like, I think it sort of comes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's about, you know, just what's going to make you happy. Because I could draw something that, you know, looks like this, you know, something really, you know, a lot more refined and cool.
Yeah.
But there was a while where I was doing doodle comics. And because it was just like, I was just trying to see, let's see how people respond to it. You know, maybe I don't need to do as much as I'm doing to tell the story. Like, and so long as I'm still happy with the art, then that's great. Like, which brings me to my next question. And after this, we will end it because I do have other stuff.
Okay.
So what would you say is more important, quantity or quality?
Oh God. I think, I mean, especially in the comic book industry, well, the entertainment industry in general, I think it's more about being prolific, like having a body of work more than quality. I mean, once you reach a certain status as an artist, I think you can afford to be very perfectionist and to cook your project very slowly. But I think, you know, when you're starting out, at least in my case, is this more about pumping out work, and that's just the reality of it. You know, we don't have time to be perfectionists. You know, a lot of the times you're going to have to bite the bullet, and you know, you may have a bad illustration or a bad page or whatever, but you have to keep going. You know, and because you know, we're always thinking with the artist mindset, but consumers don't think in that way. You know, consumers just want to buy the story. Right. They're not going to be scrutinizing every panel or if this proportion looks off or not. They just want to keep reading and being invested in the story. So that's, you know, that's yeah, that's my answer.
Yeah, and the gurus I listen to on the internet, they'll usually always say it's not about quantity or quality. Typically, it's about speed, just what you can accomplish within a certain amount of time, and more importantly than that, it's not about quantity, it's not about quality, it's not about speed. It's about the consumer. And
for sure, yeah.
They say is good. So if they say, if the consumer is saying this is crap, you should have took more time and made it more quality, that's what you should be doing, you know? If they're saying this is great, but I need more, and I need more now, like I need it yesterday, then you need to speed up. And whatever that looks like, you know, just get it to market. And until they say this isn't working for me anymore, you know, so I think it's kind of just about adjusting to the market, which
I think it's also important. Oh, sorry, I cut you off.
You good.
I think it's also important to find a style that you know you can be fast with it, or you can be prolific with it, because a lot of the times, you know, we want to make this detail work, you know, as much detail as possible. But if you have a tight schedule, you're going to have to adjust your art style or even narrative style in order to fit in with that schedule or with the consumer's requests. You know, so yeah. I don't want to hold you on for any longer. So.
Hey, look, I haven't actually said your name with confidence. Alvaro?
Yeah, that's. I mean, Alvaro, but
Alvaro.
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 Yeah, that's great. That's great.
That's cool.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've heard people say Alvaro or Alvaro or something like that, but it's really good.
I'm speaking English as I read it, so that's why.
Oh no, but it's fine. It's fine.
Which
fine.
Your English is very good, by the way. Like, am I wrong in thinking English isn't just spoken? Like,
well, here in Europe, a lot of people are bilingual for sure.
Okay.
So I mean, in Spain, Yeah, we're pretty much bilingual at this point. So, but I'm half Irish, to be fair. So,
okay.
I was in yeah, that's why I'm so pale. I mean, Spanish people are not usually that pale.
Okay.
But yeah.
I mean, for what it's worth, I'm an eighth Irish. My great grandfather was an
Really?
Irish. Yeah, he was. My mom's side of the family they were New Yorkers, and I guess he came over in the Great Migration or whatever. So
Yeah.
His great grandfather was Irish. So
yeah, we're Irish brothers.
Brother, 1/8 down. Yeah. But hey, thank you, man, for coming
to
the podcast. Great talking to you. I'm at the point where I can only do like so many episodes a year. Like I'm just kind of doing like one a month. So and I'm trying to talk to new people. So I don't know when the next time I'll get to actually just straight up sit down and talk with you about this. But
hey. I mean, it's not a problem. I mean, sorry.
No. Go ahead.
Oh no, you're. I mean, I wanted to say that you're a great host, and you're a great listener. It's really refreshing to have a great host, and you take your time for your guests to speak, and you're a very interesting artist as well. You're a very interesting content creator as well. So, and it's a very good format what you have right now.
Thank you. Yeah, so I would like to say, I was like, man, I wish you could come back on sometime soon, but I don't know when that's gonna be, but I'll see you around
whenever you can.
Yeah, I'll see you around the group, and comment here or there, So, and if you ever want to reach out to me, feel free, man. I'm just a message away.
I appreciate it.
But
is this gonna go on YouTube or?
Yeah, it's gonna go on the Marcel the Loser channel. I'm going to go back and edit it together, like maybe do some close-ups and stuff, stuff like that, and then it'll be up. I think it's that first Wednesday in February. So that's when it'll be up. Yeah.
Was it too noisy or too windy or too?
I mean, I could hear the wind, but it was never to where like I couldn't hear what you were saying. It was like I can definitely still understand you. I can see you, and I appreciate you.
Well, next time I'll try to do it in my room, because I wanted it to kind of be different about it, but
No, hey, and honestly, it was seeing the trees in the sky. It was refreshing. I didn't know I needed that. I was like, oh, what is this coming over? Like it's hitting me in waves. I was like, oh man, this is beautiful.
How's winter in Georgia? Is it like dry and cold?
It is. Winter in Georgia is to be determined. That is the best way I can describe it. Sometimes it's freezing. Other times, like last week, you think it was springtime or summer. It's weird like that. So it can be a very up and down state or climate. So it's just kind of all over the place. But that's why I got a blanket here with me, because
I can see that.
In the house. So that's what it's
like.
But
thank you very much, and I really appreciate it. This was a wonderful experience, and hopefully I wasn't my English was good enough for you to understand me and for your audience to understand me, and so it was my first official interview, so hopefully I can get better at it.
I'm happy to have been your first.
Thank you.
I was gentle.
Thank you, man. I'll let you go, and have a great day.
You too, man. Have a good time out there, all right?
Okay, bye.